You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Well, would you look at that, guys? It's a brand new year and I'm finally uploading another Dead Stadiums video. My last one was November of 2024? It's been too long, but we're back. Today is installment number 8 in my Dead Stadium series, and the subject is the Georgia Dome, which was located in Atlanta, Georgia. The story of the Georgia Dome can be traced back to the year of our Lord 1971, when the Georgia World Congress Center Authority, or GWCCA for short, was established. The purpose of the GWCCA was to oversee the construction and development of the Georgia World Congress Center, a massive convention center where CNN would eventually be headquartered, as well as having numerous rooms, banquet halls, ballrooms, shops, and restaurants. Alright, now let's talk about the Atlanta Falcons, an NFL team that was established in 1966. They were the first professional football team in the southeastern United States, an area of the country traditionally dominated by college football. The team was founded by Rankin Smith, and for the first couple decades of the team's existence, they shared a venue with the Atlanta Braves of Major League Baseball. That venue was Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, but the Falcons got the short end of the stick because the Braves kept most of the ticket revenue from Falcons games. And not only that, but they also kept most of the parking and concessions revenue too. Rankin Smith was unhappy about this, as anyone in his position would be, and by the 1980s was vocal about wanting a new stadium. And in 1988, Smith even went as far as to threaten to move the Falcons to Jacksonville, Florida if they did not get their own stadium. In January of 1989, Rankin Smith and the governor of Georgia at the time, Joe Frank Harris, reached an agreement on a 20-year lease for a brand new domed stadium, which would be named the Georgia Dome because it was owned by the state of Georgia. Construction officially began on November 22, 1989, and was financed through tax-exempt bonds issued by the Georgia World Congress Center Authority, who we talked about at the beginning of this video. In addition, a 2.75 hotel and motel tax was levied for the Atlanta area to help fund the project. The Georgia Dome officially opened on September 6, 1992, and when it opened, it was the world's largest rigid cable-supported oval dome structure. The stadium had a capacity of 71,000 for football, 80,000 for concerts, and 71,000 for basketball with the stadium fully opened, and 40,000 for basketball when the stadium was sectioned off by curtain. The Georgia Dome had 5,740 club seats and 171 luxury boxes. The executive suites fit 16 to 24 people, while the 8 super suites that were added in 2007 were capable of holding up to 96 people. The surface was originally AstroTurf, but was later replaced with Field Turf in 2003. The Falcons played their first game at the Georgia Dome on September 6, 1992, and the game was attended by over 70,000 fans. The SEC Football Championship began being played at the Georgia Dome starting in 1994. The stadium would go on to host Olympic events in 1996, and briefly hosted the NBA's Atlanta Hawks from 1997 to 1999. And during the 1998 through 99 season, the Georgia Dome hosted the largest NBA crowd ever, with more than 62,000 fans witnessing Michael Jordan playing his final game as a member of the Bulls in Atlanta. It also hosted the NCAA Men's Final Four in 2002, 2007, and 2013. The stadium also hosted the Peach Bowl from 1993 until 2016. In 2006, the Georgia Dome hosted the Sugar Bowl, which is normally played in New Orleans, but was moved that year due to the damage caused to the city of New Orleans by Hurricane Katrina. It also hosted Super Bowl 28 in 1994 and Super Bowl 34 in 2000. The venue also hosted an annual football game between Florida A&M and another HBCU school, which changed year to year, beginning in 1998. In 2015 and 2016, the Dome hosted the Celebration Bowl, commonly known as the HBCU National Championship. In 2010, Georgia State University began playing football and played their home games at the Dome until 2016. It also hosted several Georgia high school football playoff games and state championships from 2008 until 2016. The Georgia Dome also hosted a few soccer matches, starting with Mexico and Venezuela in 2009. In 2011, the stadium played host to a match between Bosnia and Herzegovina. It also hosted 2 Gold Cup quarterfinal matches. In 2006, the GWCCA spent $300 million to renovate the Georgia Dome, updating premium seats, adding new plasma TVs, and adding the 8 super suites that were previously mentioned. The Georgia Dome has unfortunately faced a couple weather-related mishaps. The day of a Falcons preseason game in 1995, heavy rain caused part of the fabric of the roof to tear, and a section of roof fell into the stadium. Several seats in the upper deck were smashed and holes were punched into the concrete. Luckily, the collapse happened after the fans had already left the stadium and no one was injured. The roof was eventually repaired and safety measures were put in place to make sure that it didn't happen again. And in 2008, during the SEC men's basketball tournament, an outbreak of tornadoes in the Atlanta area occurred, and a tornado ripped 2 huge holes in the dome during a game between Alabama and Mississippi State, which was a quarterfinal game. The game was ultimately delayed by about an hour. The following game between Kentucky and Georgia was postponed. The damage was so bad that the remainder of the tournament was played at McCamish Pavilion, the home of Georgia Tech. In 2007, WrestleMania 27 was held at the Georgia Dome, in front of 71,000 fans. WWE Monday Night Raw was held there a total of 4 times during the stadium's lifespan. The Georgia Dome has hosted several musical acts as well, including but not limited to the Rolling Stones, Paul McCartney, U2, the Backstreet Boys, Guns N' Roses, and Taylor Swift. It also hosted religious gatherings such as Billy Graham and Bishop T.D. Jakes. By 2010, the GWCCA was looking to build a new stadium for the Falcons and announced plans to build one just south of the Georgia Dome. The Falcons believed that the Georgia Dome simply lacked premium seating that was present at some of the newer stadiums, and they wanted to keep up with the times. So in 2011, plans were made. The Falcons continued to play at the Dome while the GWCCA sorted out everything that came with building a new stadium. On January 15, 2011, Eric Weems of the Falcons set an NFL record for longest scoring play in a postseason game with a 102-yard touchdown in a divisional game against the Green Bay Packers at the Georgia Dome. The stadium's general manager, Scott Jenkins, noted that seats needed to be wider, concourses needed to connect better in order for fans to circumvent the stadium, and the staircases needed to be wider. Also, the Georgia Dome needed more escalators and elevators. He made it clear he did not just want a better Georgia Dome. He wanted a better stadium and experience for fans. Basically, all of these small problems, from the tiny seats to the poor concourses to the lack of elevators and escalators, made building a brand new stadium a lot more cost effective in the long run than to continue to try to fix every tiny problem and try to prevent the venue from becoming obsolete. The Falcons CEO, Rich McKay, even went as far as to say the Georgia Dome wasn't anything special, and that the architecture was not as nice as what most NFL stadiums had by that point. And so, construction began on the Falcons' new stadium, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, in 2014, and it was completed in 2017. The Falcons' final home game at the Georgia Dome was the 2016 NFC Championship game, a 44-21 victory over the Green Bay Packers. The stadium's final public event was a pair of Monster Jam shows, taking place on March 4th and 5th of 2017. The stadium had been earmarked for demolition by this point in 2017. However, a group came forward with a petition to save the Georgia Dome, arguing that it was still a usable venue and to demolish it would be wasteful. But the GWCCA denied their request, simply stating that the cost to maintain a 70,000-seat venue would outweigh any possible benefits. The Georgia Dome's fate was officially sealed. But yet another hiccup would occur when demolition had to be delayed due to the complexity surrounding construction of Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which was just south of the Georgia Dome. The GWCCA came to the conclusion that the Georgia Dome would be semi-operational until Mercedes-Benz opened, but the turf had already been ripped up and removed, and the offices in the stadium were vacated. After several weeks and months of confusing back and forth, the Georgia Dome was officially scheduled for implosion on November 20th, 2017 at 7:30 a.m. Seats in the lower and middle bowls were sold to high schools and small colleges, while the upper bowl seats were recycled for use at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Other memorabilia from the Georgia Dome was auctioned off. The method of demolition was implosion because the demolition crew did not want to cause damage to Mercedes-Benz Stadium or any nearby structures. But just to be safe, a 70-foot tall fence was put between the Georgia Dome and Mercedes-Benz. The Georgia Dome was ultimately brought down within the span of 12 seconds. Considering the fact that Mercedes-Benz Stadium stood just a mere 83 feet away from the dome, the implosion was considered successful because no damage was done to the brand new stadium, although a light dusting was given to Mercedes-Benz. Following the implosion of the Georgia Dome, concrete at the site was crushed up so that it could be more easily and quickly removed. A historical marker now stands in the area, which was put there by the GWCCA. It commemorates the legacy of the Georgia Dome. Ultimately, the Georgia Dome was done in because it had several small things wrong with it, which added up to a big thing. As previously mentioned, the stairs were too narrow, concourses didn't connect completely, and there weren't enough escalators and elevators to accommodate the flow of people. It was easier and more cost-effective to build a new stadium rather than try and fix all the small problems as other stadiums became newer, nicer, and better. The Georgia Dome definitely had some cool moments and holds a piece of NFL history for those that attended games there or watched Falcons games on TV. The stadium hosted over 1,400 events during its lifespan, held a total of 39 million guests, and generated $7.4 billion in revenue for the state of Georgia. The Falcons played 256 home games there, and the Georgia Dome is, as of this video's release, the only venue to have hosted the Olympics, the Super Bowl, and the NCAA Final Four. Although this is, of course, a dead stadium, the memory of the stadium will live on through the stories passed on from the fans and staff who brought this building to life for many years. If you liked this video, leave a like. If you hated it, leave a dislike. But either way, comment for the algorithm. Peace out.
Never ever find the right words, and there's no way this is real life. There's no telling you're the right girl, so I can only say that it feels right. It feels right, it feels right. Yeah, I can only say that it feels right. It feels right, it feels right. Yeah, I can only say that it feels right.